Several years after the zombie virus outbreak, a mysterious human organization emerged. They spray-painted a phrase in many places: "The end is where we begin." These two were killed trying to steal the keys from Morgan. The same message was found in a building Dwight and Althea once visited, hinting that this organization might be behind the plague. Even Virginia's community, which she ruled with an iron fist, discovered a woman spreading the same message. Virginia would never allow that to be spread on her turf. But the woman who was caught wouldn't say anything. Virginia was preparing to take her back for a thorough interrogation, but the woman snatched a handgun and confronted them. She then told Virginia, "What we do has nothing to do with you or anyone else. It's only about the future you want to rebuild." Just as Virginia was about to ask more, the woman chose suicide over revealing anything further, deepening the mystery. There are now 3 organizations with the agenda of rebuilding the future. First is a military-like group in armor. Second is Virginia, constantly talking about rebuilding the future. Third is this secretive spray-painting organization. What does the future really mean to them? Meanwhile, Sarah and Naomi met on a mission and chatted by the roadside. Soon, John contacted Naomi via radio, asking her to wait for him. Minutes later, John picked up Naomi, with Sarah following in a truck. John revealed his plan to leave with Naomi, disillusioned by Janice's death and the true nature of their surroundings. They had prepared gas and food for their escape. Naomi was unaware of Janice's death details, and John simply expressed his desire to get as far away as possible. Naomi worried about Virginia's pursuit, but John saw it as an opportunity to escape before she realized their departure. As Naomi pondered, Luciana's urgent voice came through the radio, asking for her help at the oil field. Then John's radio also crackled to life, urging him to hurry to the oil fields. If they didn't show up, Virginia would surely know they were trying to escape. John could only say, "We'll go there and follow their orders, and maybe we can grab a few barrels of oil on the way." Soon, they arrived at the oil fields. When they got out of the car, there was a lot of smoke, and there were a lot of injured people in front of the gate, and they looked like they'd been in a big accident. Naomi quickly asked Sarah to bring out the medical supplies. These were oil field workers from Virginia's community. Fortunately, Luciana was unharmed. She explained that there had been a blowout at one of the wells, burning many people. In addition to those outside, there were more injured inside, including Wes. Luciana said they needed to go in and rescue them, as there was still an open flame inside and the risk of an explosion if the wind changed. They were no longer able to walk, so they had to drive the truck in to bring them out. Luciana cursed upon seeing an approaching vehicle, for Virginia had arrived, and her style of operation meant she wouldn't rescue anyone here. Naomi insisted they had to go in and save as many as possible. Unexpectedly, Virginia wanted to join them, not to help but to interrogate the injured workers. Virginia then began assigning tasks, ordering her subordinates to interrogate those outside. Sharpshooter John was sent to a high point to keep watch for any wrongdoers. John whispers to Naomi that if she goes in with Virginia, it will stop her from saving the others, and that's just their nature. They only help others to serve their own ends. Naomi replied that she would do her best to treat everyone and then escape with him. They quickly entered the oil field, now with several more wells than before, one of which was continuously spewing crude oil. Luciana warned to keep an eye on the wind direction and to leave immediately if anything seemed off. Their clothes got dirty with crude oil just after getting out of the car. Virginia asked Luciana how long the well would keep spewing, and Luciana said it could be months or even years. Virginia's concern is not for the workers, but for the amount of crude oil that will be wasted. Then, Virginia saw something that infuriated her. The phrase "the end is where we begin" appeared again, suggesting that the accident may have been contrived. An angry Virginia declared she wouldn't leave until the culprit was found. When they arrived at the shed, several injured people were still there, one with a ruptured eardrum. Virginia relentlessly interrogated them. Naomi quickly instructed Sarah to bring the truck over to transport the wounded. Virginia showed no concern for their well-being, ordering her subordinates to urgently search the employee dormitories for evidence. Meanwhile, Naomi found Wes in a corner, suffering from a fragment wound in his abdomen that needed immediate attention. As Naomi was contacting Sarah, a zombie lunged at her from behind. Luckily, Virginia shot the zombie just in time. Naomi quickly examined her own arm. It was a slash wound, not a bite. The zombie's hands were bound with steel needles. Virginia immediately questioned John about whether the zombie had come from outside, but John confirmed that the fence was intact, and no zombies had breached it. It was clear that these events were orchestrated by someone. While Naomi continued to actively treat Wes, Virginia remarked, "If I were you, I wouldn't waste time on this. You need to let go of those who can't survive. Wes' wounds are so painful he can't move or he'll die from the pain. He needs to be anesthetized. Virginia stopped them, revealing that her men had found paint in Wes's room. She demanded to know why Wes was spreading these views within the community. They were left speechless by her questions. When Virginia pressed Wes about how long he had been with them, Wes replied, "I don't know what you're talking about. I just like graffiti," as Virginia pressed on his wound.
Come on, Wes! Come on, answer my question!
Naomi, unable to watch any longer, administered anesthesia to Wes, escalating the tension. Fortunately, Virginia stopped her subordinates. Recognizing Naomi's significant role in the community, they could take Wes away, but the interrogation would continue. Luciana and Sarah prepared to evacuate with Wes. As Naomi opened the truck door, she froze. The previously injured had turned into zombies, quickly approaching her. Naomi, having survived alone in the post-apocalyptic world, had no problem dispatching zombies. Virginia joined in the fight against the zombies, and soon the truck was cleared. With Wes loaded on board, Naomi urged Luciana to drive off quickly, promising to follow soon. At that moment, Virginia ran out of bullets and called out to Naomi to hurry inside the room. The wind had changed, and the humming sound from the pipelines indicated an imminent explosion. Virginia and Naomi are trapped in the room by zombies. Suddenly, the oil field erupted in a massive explosion, engulfing the entire area in a fiery inferno. The shockwave from the blast knocked Virginia unconscious inside the collapsing building. When Virginia opened her eyes, a zombie was lunging at her. She fought back with all her strength, grabbing a rock and striking at the zombie's head. But Virginia was not strong enough to kill the zombies, and they bit her on the back of her hand. Virginia screamed in pain, unable to escape, until Naomi, wielding an axe, came to her rescue and killed the zombie. Virginia looked at her hand in disbelief and despair. No! Inside the walkie-talkie, her men's call of concern rang out, and Virginia forced herself to stay calm and said, "Come here quickly. I've been bitten by zombies." Her subordinates informed her that the area was demolished, and she would have to wait. Virginia's pent-up emotions erupted, venting her frustrations into the radio.
I don't have any more time!
As if in thought, she glances at an axe not far away and Virginia pulls out her belt. As a nurse, Naomi knew what Virginia wanted to do. Virginia then tightened her belt around her forearm, intending to amputate her hand to save her life. She poured alcohol over the wound and stood up to grab the axe. Naomi, quick to react, took the axe away. Despite her typically compassionate nature, Naomi believed Virginia didn't deserve to live. "I won't let you do this," Naomi said. "All those people outside died because of you. You always forced us to wait and waste time asking questions." Virginia demanded the axe, saying she would do it herself. Naomi shook her head, knowing her time was running out. Virginia desperately lunged for the axe. Naomi forcefully prevented her from getting it. With Virginia's hand injured, Naomi quickly gained the upper hand, holding the axe against Virginia's neck. Virginia was now terrified that Naomi might kill her. Just then, Luciana's voice came through, indicating Wes was barely hanging on. Virginia pleaded, "Please, help me." Naomi coldly replied, "You have to let go of those who can't survive." She was echoing Virginia's earlier words about the workers. At this point, Naomi could only guide Luciana and the others via radio to help Wes remove the fragment. Virginia, still trying to persuade Naomi with her words, knew Naomi was a kind-hearted person. However, Naomi remained resolute and unmoved, focusing only on instructing Luciana through the radio on the surgery. Virginia started to panic, pleading, "What do you want? I'll give you anything." Naomi replied coldly, "All I want is to wake up every morning and see my husband. Your death will make that possible." Virginia was stunned. Luciana then informed Naomi that Wes's condition had stabilized and they were coming to pick her up. Virginia cried and said, "Well, you managed to save a man. I have no right to ask anything of you now, but there's one thing you must do for me. Please, Dakota is my sister, and I hope you can keep her safe. Everything I've done was for her. I love her very much." Naomi just looked at Virginia. Perhaps at that moment, Virginia was just a vulnerable woman trying to protect her family. Naomi's heart softened. She poured alcohol on the axe and said, "Don't make me regret what I do today."
Wait!
When Virginia woke up again, Naomi was treating her wound. Without Naomi, the nurse, Virginia would have bled to death even if she had cut off her hand. Naomi said, "I do want to ask you for something." Virginia responded. "If you want gasoline, there's none left. It's all gone." Soon, John walked in. Seeing each other unharmed, they embraced tightly. The oil field was completely destroyed. Virginia's subordinates, Marcus and Hill, came to pick her up. The first thing Virginia wanted was for them to contact her sister. She longed to hear her voice over the radio. Wes also woke up in the truck, seemingly out of danger. Sarah and Luciana couldn't understand why Naomi would save Virginia. Wes, too, was puzzled. Everyone had hoped for Virginia's death so they could be free. Naomi explained. "She promised to give us the hospital." Luciana and Sarah say, "How can you trust her when so many people died today because of her?" Naomi countered. "With the hospital, we can treat more people, and it will be ours to run independently." But Luciana and Sarah were still furious, believing it was the perfect chance to kill Virginia without dirtying their hands. "We four can't run a hospital alone," Sarah pointed out. "That's why I found us some help," Naomi said. Just then, a car arrived with Sarah's brother, Wendell, inside. Sarah finally smiled. Reunited with her brother, John found Naomi. She was about to share the news about the hospital, but John interrupted. "I've filled up the gas. There's a fork in the road 5 kilometers ahead. We can escape. If we're spotted, we'll say we took a wrong turn and keep moving." Naomi says we can't just leave now that we have a hospital. "I don't want to leave." John was a little overwhelmed. Naomi said, "Every time we go somewhere, something bad happens. I don't want to keep running anymore. I used to think Virginia was a hindrance to us doing good, but she has changed now." At that moment, Virginia's car passed by. Nodding at Naomi, John knew that his wife had been blinded by Virginia and he knew exactly how cunning she was. But Naomi is still trying to persuade John to stay here with her. "You'll follow us, won't you?" Naomi asked. Knowing John loved her, he could only reply, "Of course." Soon the car was heading towards the Virginia community. John, always an optimist, now wore a face of worry and seriousness. When they reached the fork, John chose to leave, feeling a sense of revulsion and disgust towards Virginia's community. A fully armed cavalry unit had one mission today: to ensure the safe arrival of a vehicle. It had been a week since the oil field incident. The person in charge of this mission was none other than Victor. Dakota was well aware that Virginia had sent them merely as a precaution to prevent her escape. She told Victor that the cavalry was also there to watch him, as Virginia didn't fully trust him either. Victor was aware of this but expressed confidence in gaining Virginia's trust eventually. Dakota suggested that now was the best time to escape. Virginia had lost a hand, and John had been missing for a week. But Victor never considered fleeing. He aimed to earn Virginia's approval and gain power. Suddenly, a horse approached them. Victor sensed something was amiss and instructed Dakota to stay in the vehicle. The horse belonged to a scout from their unit. Repeated calls to the cavalry went unanswered, indicating trouble. Mounting the horse, Victor took one rider to investigate, leaving the rest to protect Dakota. "They've come a long way. The road here is blocked by a big tree. It looks like someone must have done it on purpose." Just when Victor was puzzled, there was the sound of horses' hooves behind him. Those cavalry's horses had already run to this place. No need to think that something must have happened to the escort. They rushed towards the opposite direction at full speed. Along the road there are still scattered horses. When they arrived at the place where the escort was, the cavalry had all been killed and were lying on the ground, and the car and Dakota had disappeared. The cavalry had mutated by now. The attackers might be the same ones who had hit the oil fields. It doesn't matter if the cavalry is dead. The main thing is that Dakota is gone. They decided not to report back to Virginia just yet, focusing on finding Dakota to redeem themselves. Not far from there, Alicia and Charlie were on border patrol. Victor had been calling them all day about an urgent matter, but Alicia was reluctant to respond. It's been 6 weeks since Victor put them here. She believed Victor had become corrupt in his quest for power and felt no obligation to help him. On the 50th call, Victor's tone was almost pleading, prompting Alicia to answer, albeit begrudgingly. Victor requested a meeting. Out of respect for their past relationship, they agreed to meet. Victor had already found their car. He got straight to the point. "Our guard team was attacked. Dakota must have tried to escape by car and crashed here, then continued on foot." Alicia couldn't help but feel a bit of schadenfreude. "You lost Virginia's sister. You're in deep trouble now." Victor, somewhat helpless, relied on Alicia's help to find Dakota. Alicia was familiar with the area, and Dakota admired her greatly. Ultimately, Alicia agreed to assist Victor. They started searching in one direction from the car. Charlie was puzzled about why they were helping Victor. Alicia clarified, "It's not about helping him. We need someone who can stand up to the cavalry. Whoever attacked the oil field or the guard team has the capability to fight them. As they walked, a zombie appeared, posing no challenge for Alicia. Another approached Charlie, who calmly dispatched it. Over the past 6 weeks, Alicia had been training Charlie in fighting zombies, but Alicia hesitated with the next zombie, who knocked her to the ground. Charlie quickly killed it from behind. This zombie was different, seemingly modified with needle and thread, a bizarre hobby Alicia couldn't fathom. They noticed a hunter's cabin nearby, a likely refuge if Dakota had fled. Alicia had Charlie keep watch while she slipped inside, opting for a reinforced side door to be ready for any confrontation. The cabin was quiet, filled with various animal trophies that could startle the faint-hearted. Then, Alicia heard music coming from upstairs. She cautiously ascended, the singing growing closer, clearly coming from below the attic. Peeking out, Alicia saw a man apparently experimenting, fitting a deer antler onto a zombie's head. The strange zombie outside was probably related to this man. Alicia could also see that the zombies were wearing the insignia of Virginia's cavalry on their chests. Could the man be the one who attacked the escort? To avoid detection, Alicia pulled back. When she looked again, the man had left the table, leaving only the zombie behind. Alicia is wondering where he went. Suddenly,
Don't worry. It won't hurt nearly as much as you think.